Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to this, our final session. Welcome to you here in the room. Welcome to those who are with us online, and for those in the room, we've had an online audience for all 3 days, people joining in and submitting questions, so thank you. Thank you to everyone who's been joining online. Also, let you know that if there is anything that you have missed, we'll be sending out all the details of all the different sessions and things like that in the presentation. So everything will also come to you digitally as well. Really interesting session, this one. I mean, everything today has been really fabulous. This one, we're going to get into the heart of data sharing. So many questions have already come up on this today with all the different participants and experts speaking here. Now we'll really get into the heart of it. We're calling it Breaking Silos in Agriculture, Bridging Gaps Through Data Sharing and Interoperability. So that's really the heart of where the challenges could be. This is going to be a really full session. We haven't put a coffee break in it. But the same as yesterday, if you feel the need for refreshments, we will have some straight outside where lunch was served. Obviously, you can't bring them back into this room. We also have some refreshments down on the ground floor, right next to the listening rooms as well. So if you are actually watching online through the listening rooms, you will have refreshments just outside. So here we go. On the list for this afternoon, interoperability and data sharing, looking at how it can ease the administrative burden, and looking at practical implementation, so those real-world challenges and the tangible impact that these initiatives are having right across the sector. Now, before we start, as we always have been, I'm going to ask you to take your phones out for me. And I have a Slido QR code. There it is. Fabulous. And if you're watching online as well, you can please take part in this as well. So we're going to find out what you feel about data sharing in agriculture. So for the word cloud, if you can, just go with one word. And if you see that your word has already been put in, if you can put the same one in so that we can see the most popular topics. So in one word, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about data sharing in agriculture? Whoa, difficult. Interoperability. Basically, different sets of data, different companies, all talking to each other. Oh, opportunity. So there's a real positive there as well. Harmonization needed. It's complex. It's hard. It's a burden. Trust also on there. Trust was one of the big ones that came out earlier, wasn't it? Reliability, privacy. Opportunity does seem to be the biggest one there so far. I'm just going to give it another moment because I think we've got more people than that in the room. So I'll give it a second. I did notice, though, there's a couple down here that say it's a pain and that it's extra work. So I wonder whether they will come out as the challenges, some of the challenges today. Okay, thank you for that. Really appreciated. Let's move on to the second Slido question now, if I may. So we're going to put another QR code up for you, or I think it might pop up on your phones for you. Looks like it has, doesn't it? If not, you can rescan. So we're going to ask you about the digital tools on your farm. So if those tools could talk, what would they say to each other about working together with public systems? Okay? So what would they say? We don't speak the same language. I'm lost. I'm waiting for connection. Or teamwork. Waiting for connection. I'm wondering whether that's quite simply a lack of connection and maybe rural availability. I'm going to give it another couple of moments and see what everyone is thinking. I have to say, over a quarter of the people in the room seem to be really quite positive, saying finally teamwork, but also more than 2/3 of the room saying waiting for connection, it's not working, and we don't speak the same language. Okay, thank you. Let's try and tackle some of those and get through these challenges. So I'm delighted to say for our keynote to start us off, the head of Unit for Interoperability and Digital Government at the DG for Digital Services. Please welcome Leontina Sandu. Leontina, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. How is everyone doing? Well, I'm surprised to see so many people in the afternoon, in the third day, so obviously you must be interested in digitalization and interoperability for you to choose to spend your time here. As someone in charge of interoperability in digital government, I was super excited to see that the second word on Slido was interoperability, coming right after opportunity, and just more or less at the same place with trust. So it means that I'm actually preaching to a converted crowd. So as Sasha introduced me, I'm in charge of a unit called Interoperability and Digital Government at the European Commission, and my team and I are actually in charge of developing a policy for interoperability, setting up a governance to make sure that this policy produces the results we're all expecting, and also at the same time developing an ecosystem of solutions to help everyone make interoperability happen. But I will tell you more about the work that my team and I do in just a bit. Before that, I would like to share a story with you. So first, tell me, how many of you are aware of the baby powder milk crisis in the US in 2022? Show of hands. Oh, great. So for those of you that know, bear with me. Those of you that don't know, I hope you're up for an interesting story. So what happened? In early 2022, one of the largest producers of baby milk powder in the US was Abbott Nutrition. And actually, and unfortunately, due to a contamination which led to a few babies dying, they had to shut down one of their biggest plants in the country. And they were responsible for 40% of the production of baby milk powder in the US. And the plant shutting down, plus a few other factors, led to an out-of-stock rate of 70%. There's a couple of more interesting aspects about Abbott Nutrition. They were also the main supplier for one of the biggest government-led programs in the US for low-income families. So a lot of babies in low-income families could not get the formula they needed to feed their babies. And on top of that, think about the babies that need special formula, for which there is no alternative to baby powder milk, babies that have allergies or digestive problems and so on and so forth. So all this practically led to a nationwide crisis in the US in 2022, affecting the most vulnerable babies in the United States of America. To top it off, the federal government was notified very late. In the beginning, it was a state problem. Very soon, it became a federal problem. But they learned about it way too late, while the crisis was already in full motion. So they didn't have the ability to anticipate and put in place measures to solve this crisis sooner than later. So they were faced with a big problem, and they were faced with a lack of data problem. They didn't know what was going on the ground. So they needed to know who needs the product most. Where are the babies? They needed to know who's still producing baby milk powder in the US. They needed to know who are the retailers that still had the data in stock. And they needed data from local government agencies as well. And one would think that in such a situation, everybody would come and give their data freely because it's about babies, so we have to fix the problem. Well, it didn't happen. They waited and waited and waited for a few weeks, and they did not get the data. And they didn't get it mostly because, in particular, retailers, they did not trust the government. They did not trust the government that the government will treat their data in the proper way. So after a few weeks, the way the US government solved the problem was to actually contract a private company, a data analytics company, who had this data. They had real-time retail data. And they paid only $70,000 to get the data. $70,000 to solve a nationwide crisis and save babies. So this company provided the US federal government with the missing piece of data, the retail data, stock data, which allowed them to get the big picture and put in place some measures to solve the crisis. There are obviously other measures to solve this particular crisis, but they are not that much related to data sharing, so I won't go into those. But here is an example when a nation is in crisis and when data is scattered all over the place and there's not enough willingness to put this data together to solve this problem. So looking back at this problem, I couldn't help but think, oh, if only the US federal government had a common data space. If only they had a trust-based framework that allowed public and private players to share their data in an environment where everybody knows what happens with their data, where everybody knows who accesses this data, and where an environment that allows people to make money out of that data as well, because we need to be allowed to monetize data as well. There's no such thing as a free meal, not even in times of crisis. And then my second thought was, oh, wait, while we in Europe, we do have data spaces. We do have such trust-based frameworks. We even have a common agricultural data space. So the question is, why aren't we using it? Why aren't we exploiting these solutions that are already in place and that could bring private and public actors together to share their data? And I would even go beyond data spaces. I would go beyond what we can do at national level, and I would like to take a look at what we can do at European level. How we can go from national platforms to actually platforms where we can share data cross-border and cross-sectors. And today, it has been all about digitalization, and you've heard some examples in the morning. You'll hear some more examples in the afternoon for entities like DJust Connect in Belgium and others as well. So these are great examples, but they are still islands. So the question is, how do we connect these islands in a way so that we can exchange data at the European level? And that actually brings me closer to the work of my team and I on interoperability. And we believe that for interoperability to work, we need 3 intervention points. First of all, we need a policy intervention. Then we need coordination to make this policy happen. And we also need a collection of assets or a toolbox for all actors to use. And these will be the key ingredients for data sharing. So let me start with the first one, which is the policy intervention. I think you're probably aware of policies such as Data Act and Data Governance Act, but you might not be aware of a new piece of legislation that the European Commission adopted this year and entered into force this year, which is the Interoperable Europe Act. And I know that probably the first thought that comes to your mind is, oh my God, yet another regulation, yet another administrative burden to comply with. And maybe it is a little bit of that, but it comes with a high return on investment as well. So the Interoperable Europe Act addresses the public sector and creates the obligation for all public administrations at all levels, local, regional, national, and European, to look at interoperability, to assess interoperability in the policy making and when designing public services. This actually shifts the burden from implementation to policymaking. And obviously, there is a cost for those people doing policymaking and for having them looking at interoperability. But there is a really, really high return on investment. The price, actually, according to our calculation, is that we would be able to exploit benefits in the order of 19 billion euros per year for businesses should interoperability be implemented across the board. So that's quite a big price to go to, especially when we're all fighting for money. Now, the second intervention point is coordination. And there, no surprise, the Interoperable Europe Act sets a board where member states come together with the Commission and with a few other entities as well to coordinate the agenda for interoperability in Europe. They're supported by national competent authorities for interoperability in Europe, and they're also supported by a community. And actually, I take the opportunity to invite you all to register to this community and help us shape the interoperability agenda in Europe. The third intervention point, and probably that speaks the most to you, is the solutions, the tools. Here too, I take the opportunity to promote our Interoperable Europe portal. Some of you might know it as JoinUp. In the past, it has been rebranded. And this is the main hub for solutions. You will find there tools, know-how, examples, everything that you need to know about interoperability, you'll find on the Interoperable Europe portal. You'll find things like specifications for data sets like DCAT AP or for APIs like CPSV AP. But you'll also find architecture frameworks, data modeling tools, testbed solutions, and so on and so forth. And we are now in the process of actually reviewing these solutions, selecting some of them, and labeling them as Interoperable Europe solutions, which will definitely make your life easier, because if you see a solution bearing the label, you have the assurance that it is a good solution for interoperability, that it has been tested by others, and that actually it does work in a proper manner. I would also point out to our Interoperable Europe Academy, because I also saw somewhere on your infographic skills, we know that we are missing digital skills. Well, interoperability skills are almost a luxury product. So for us to make this product a little bit more accessible, we have created a curricula of online training courses, which are targeting civil servants, but practically could be used by anyone. These trainings are available in all languages of the European Union, so they're literally at your fingertips. And I've also seen on your infographics from the morning sessions resources and money, and I want to talk about that as well. I also want to talk about partnerships between public and private. So for that, we've actually created a GovTech incubator that brings together 29 partners from 20 countries to solve common problems, common issues. And the value add of such an incubator is not only that these entities will be creating things together, but it's them coming together, because they can do peer review, they can learn from each other. So there's a lot of knowledge and value by only bringing 29 partners from 20 countries together. And talking about money, we have a coordinated and support action on connected public administrations, which has just been signed. I don't remember now all the countries that have signed into this coordinated and support action, but we have there Finland, Portugal, Poland, Hungary, Greece, and maybe a few others as well. And we will be financing a multi-country project as well on connected public administration, which hopefully will become a European digital infrastructure consortium to solve problems related to interoperability and data sharing. So I think I'm taking a little bit too much time, so I'm gonna wrap up here. Data sharing requires trust-based frameworks like data spaces. It also requires some policy, a little bit of burden, but there's a high return on investment. If we spend some money, €1 spent, 100 euros in return on investment. And we also need policy to give legal certainty, you know, who does what, who controls what. We need coordination, and we also need a solid foundation of assets, including skills. So this is what my team and I are doing at the moment, and I do hope that some of you will be joining us in this journey to make interoperability happen. We are strong believers that we must do better at sharing data to solve crises and anticipate crises, like, you know, powder milk for babies, but others as well. And we also believe that this is our duty towards citizens and towards businesses, including farmers, obviously. So a lot of work ahead for us. I'll stop here, and actually I look forward to questions during the Q&A and afterwards as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Come and take a seat. Do you want to come? Yeah, that's it. Brilliant. Just a real quick couple of questions. Can I just clarify something? 19 billion euros saved if we have better interoperability. Is that because of a crisis averted, or is that simply because you wouldn't be duplicating work, or is it a mix of everything?
Does this one work?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for your question. So these are savings. It's a potential for savings if all public services are out there would be connecting and exchanging data. So obviously this will mean cost saved in the context of a crisis, because if you have a network of public services that works and can exchange data, this can be a very, very important tool in case of a crisis. So you can come to a solution much quicker and spending less money. But it also means once only. So you're very right to point. So it means that instead of using a series of services to get what we want, we would be using one. It means that data would be pre-filled from us, coming from different registries, from different national registries for us. It means, for instance, if we are filling in our tax data, 90% of it is already pre-filled, and we just need to validate it. So the 19 billions means time saved. We actually calculate the amount of time businesses and citizens would save in their interaction with the government, and we're monetizing that time, and this is how we've got to the 19 billion savings per year. It's mostly for businesses, because it is typically businesses that spend a lot more time in interacting with the government than citizens, but are tangible savings for citizens as well.
It's a huge amount, and actually within that, there is probably quite a bit of low-hanging fruit that would be quite easy to solve. You haven't got to get the whole 19 billion savings, have you? Even just a little bit of it. You mentioned skills. I'm going to use that as a subject that we will all talk about later, and not just the skills that maybe are, I don't want to say lacking, but the skills that need to be helped with people using the tools. But I'm also thinking of the skills gap that we have when it comes to people who can make the tools and actually work within the industries that make these things work for us. Yeah, let's talk more about that later. Let's bring another participant to stage. I'd like to bring on the Head of Budgetary and Analysis Department of the Agriculture Registers and Information Board of Estonia. It's Kadri Kaval. Would you like to come and join us? Kadri, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very glad to be here and to introduce you some of our examples of digitalization and data-based service projects that we are having. I'm coming from Estonian Paying Agency, which is responsible for CAP and fisheries support. And before I show you these examples that we have developed or are under development, maybe a bit of background information for introduction. For 20 years, we have been in the EU, and our agency, therefore, has been aiming for maximization of support payments and being very strict authority, carrying out controls, and they may lead to penalties and reductions and so on. I'm sure every farmer who is listening right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, but then at one point we realized that there's a shift in needs towards administration. Things were changing. Only making payments and being just the ATM for the farmers is not enough. This background includes starting with the Green Deal or environmental requirements up until the gap reform towards the result-based approach. We realized that we need to do something more. So we adopted a new strategy. And this strategy, we aim at giving something extra, being a partner for the farmer and working together these goals, achieving these goals. As you can imagine, being the background or introduction that I just gave, it's not an easy task. Thinking what farmers may think about all the paying agencies. So we have several strategic goals, but we realized that maybe one key element in this strategy is connected with data and connecting with the opportunities what the data can give. It can give back something extra for the farmer, and it can make work for the farmer. So we realized that taking this data, which we take anyway, and giving it back with something extra, with electronic services, it can be a very good idea. So the idea of knowledge services was born. To give you this a little more precise idea what the knowledge services are, it's based on this data, information, knowledge, and wisdom model. And it means that data itself doesn't give us any value. It gives us value if we structurize, if we connect data, if we share data and give this an extra value. It's basically valorization of data services. And it can be very general. It can include open data, but it can also be very personalized, which has much more useful impacts for the sector. But as usual, we started with also very low apples to pick. We started to valorize the data that we have ourselves in our agency. We started to create these visualized, very interactive BI dashboards and showing out what are the situation with implementation of all kinds of reports. Here you can see very actual pictures of our dashboards available and all the information that they include. The idea behind it is that it's automatic, it's easy to grasp, and it's always available. It doesn't have to be put together anytime somebody asks, what is the situation today? How far have we gone? So this was a very good selling point for our policy makers and our decision makers to sell the idea of our strategy. The next logical step was to go beyond the data that we have ourselves and also make this data available for the public. So we added these visualized dashboards for our website. They're also interactive and automatic, but we also added several other information, not only based on information that we have in the paying agency, but also information, for example, from our general statistics. Here you have one picture of example of self-sufficiency, as paying agencies are the first public institution that gets the information in spring how the agricultural land is used. So we can get feedback, what is the situation this year. It will be a bit late to start taking this information together when there's a crisis in that, as we heard just from the previous speaker. But we have this information right away and available. And also we have several other institutions in our state that we can use the data and make a very specific sector-based dashboards for the needs of the sector, as they are in constant need and search for the background data to back up their problems, to go and talk to the policymakers. So, as told, these were the general or public versions of these knowledge services, but the real value is in personalized services. In other words, we can take any research and innovation project, and we can take data from any database available and form this into a very specific, personalized electronic service. And this service can be used in our electronic portal, but it also, through APIs, can be used in private sector electronic services, for example, electronic fieldbook providers. So we make the developments, IT developments, and make this data and services available, and the farmer can use it. The first service that we had for live, it was a personal location-based statistics to analyze welfare of the dairy herd. It was actually connected to a measure that we implemented, but here's a very good point of these knowledge services that we develop. You don't have to apply for support in order to use these database services, because the data is there anyway. If you have the data, if you have the wish, it's a voluntary service, you can push the button and make the data move and get comparisons. You can have all trends, you can, whatever information is useful for you, get from these services. We have also additional 5 recommendation calculators already live and usable for our farmers. Very personalized and specific. For example, these fertilization recommendations, they have been available for years, but now you can go to electronic field book and go to the specific field, get a recommendation based on your soil sample, and download this information and use it in your tractor to in the field. So it's made it so much easier and quicker to get this information together. And also, you can use it, you don't have to use it. So it's an opportunity. It's something that you can get back from these services, from data. Of course, there is a tremendous amount of potential database services that we can develop. And if we have them enough, then we can make the combination of different services. For example, we have this green light tool for primary food production under development. This is kind of a specific innovation project. And it includes many, many indicators, for example, for green footprint or environmental indicators and so on. And what this is going to give for our farmers is not only the opportunity to get some kind of indicators, but also evaluate the situation, compare yourself with others, also get advice. And there's also one good point that if you go to your advisor, it also can be used by advisor and you save time for collecting the data and getting something out of it. You just get the data and you can start analyzing what needs to be invested in or what needs to be improved. And also there is a wish that we could also use this data to compile different reports, for example, for ESG, and export this data wherever these reports or data can be used. For example, our banks have shown interest that they need this data as an input to evaluate the loans for farmers. So they are very interested in this tool to use. So as I told this, there are a number of services that can be developed, and we are at the beginning of this to make the data work and change the face of administration from burden to collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kadri. And actually, you know, you said very near the beginning of your presentation that you have the data before the crisis happens. That's exactly what you are hoping happens. So, yeah. And you also said that you've got one potential private partner, possibly, with banks. Who else might be interested, do you think?
I think any service provider in agriculture can be included in these services. We have, for example, these real-time economy projects which are dealing with, I don't know, tractor information or farm farm information to get directly to our registry. So there's an infinite amount of possibilities.
What did you think to it? Do you want to?
Well, it's exactly what we need, as you were saying earlier.
You've got a 10 out of 10.
Yes, absolutely. And well, 9 out of 10. I think to make it 10 out of 10, we would need to scale it up at European level. And I think that's the challenge. How do we scale up a success story like yours to a European level?
Yeah. And that, I tell you what, we will talk about that, how on earth we do that. Thank you. Let's bring on our next participant, our next example here. It's a coordinator for an upcoming partnership, Agriculture of Data, from the Agency for Green Transition and Aquatic Environment in Denmark. Please welcome Jesper Stendal Sorensen. Jesper, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, we will be talking about upscaling. Let's see. Yes, I'm Jesper Stendal Sørensen from the Danish Agency for Green Transition and Aquatic Environment. I am the coordinator for the candidate partnership, Agriculture of Data. We are a partnership aiming to start in 2025, early 2025. We will be a partnership for 7 years with a total budget of 300 million euros. And I'm here to talk about the opportunities that our partnership will offer this specific matter. So, what is agriculture data all about? Well, our general objectives are here on the screen. So, but let's dig into it. It's enhancing climate, environmental, and socio-economic sustainability and productivity of agriculture and increasing capacity for policy monitoring and evaluation through exploiting the potential offered by Earth observation, other environmental and agricultural data, and using newly developed digital and data technologies in Europe to support the parallel digital and green transitions with emphasis on utilizing the umbrella effect. So what does this mean? Well, we have the digital and green transition. I think everybody is aboard on that and agrees on this. The umbrella effect I also have highlighted here. What does that mean? Well, that means that we as a partnership are aiming at and will link to other similar initiatives which either will be upcoming or has been already been developed, especially under Horizon Europe. And then we have the sustainability aspect here. We will focus on sustainability. And as Trevor mentioned earlier this morning, the Irish farmer, there's a lot of definition of sustainability. There's the green definitions, the climate, the biodiversity, the environment. And there's also the rural, the social, and especially the economical sustainability of the farmers. We will do that by use the data of, that are already out there and also producing more data. And we aim at integrate the data sources to combine them to get better results than we have already had. Yeah. And this is also the combination of the data sources is also a bit of a story of a timeline of our partnership, because we started as an Earth observation partnership, but quickly we understood that we could not focus alone on Earth observation. We need to focus on other data sources because we need to combine them to get better probability of the effect that's actually going out there on the fields. And how do we do this? Well, we need to share data. Yeah. The cow went away. That's on purpose. The cow will come back. Okay, so this will be the quiz afterwards. I will take the microphone and ask all. No, I'm just kidding. So here we have the intervention logic. Here we have the intervention logic of the partnership. The partnership is based in what in partnership wordings are called the SRIA, Scientific Research Innovation Agenda. Ours contain 100 research innovation activities which specifies on different aspects of the whole aim of the partnership. This means we are a very broad partnership. We have a lot of room, and we emphasize on upscaling and becoming a big partnership. We will specifically develop Europe-wide database solutions. This including the upscaling of targeted use cases results. And we cannot build these Europe-wide database solutions without data sharing. And without data, we need interoperability to actually data share. So this is implied in the partnership. This is implied when you develop in our field. So what do you see here? Well, you see the design model of agriculture of data. You see the work packages and the use cases. So I don't expect you to remember this at all, but this is an explanation of what we want to do. Because as I mentioned before, we want to do this, we want to achieve all of these very ambitious goals of the partnership by creating use cases. And comparing to other partnerships, we have decided to take all of the use cases, the actual developments of the partnership, and put them into use cases in the middle and have the work packages surrounding the use cases. And the aim of the work packages are to initiate, facilitate, support, and harvest from the use cases. So compared to other Horizon initiatives, there won't be any real developments going on in the work packages. That's not saying that the work of the work packages are not important. Quite the opposite, actually. If you look at the screen here, you can see the different wordings, the different titles, of the work packages. And let's focus a bit up in the right corner. You have work package 8 and 9. So work package 8, that's on valorization for policy. And we have a brother work package on the right side, the valorization for agri-food sector. So both aspects are equally important for the partnership, and for us, they cannot live without each other. And those two work packages are cooperating very closely together. You can also see in the bottom, work package 2, as I mentioned, the umbrella effect. We aim at and we will link up to other similar or quite similar initiatives throughout Europe. And we will also ensure that the relevant use cases within agriculture of data will be linking up to other initiatives. Work package 6, ELSA, abbreviation, ethical, that's not a word, ethic, legal, social aspects, and the focus on capacity building and skills. We need uptake. What I've heard today is that we need the focus on uptake and actual social science. You can build the best tool in the world, but if nobody knows how to use it, it doesn't really matter, does it? We also, in this work package, together with the use cases, will focus on how to build trust, how to ensure that the developments of agriculture of data will actually be uptaken. And I think Tassos, the Greek farmer, actually spoke of this, who was through this morning via the virtual link. Yeah, and finally at the bottom, no, not at the bottom, but you have work package 5, which is basically this session is all about. That's on the data and tools. It's called data warehouse and storage here, but it's basically on data sharing and interoperability. So that's ontologies, the data spaces, the creating Europe-wide, ensuring that the use cases are creating Europe-wide reference data sets, and ensuring the methodologies and the models and the data quality. Yeah. So, some examples on some use cases, proposed use cases. We're still a candidate partnership, remember? Here you see some of them. It's difficult to make any real changes in Europe without influencing the CAP. That's I'm sorry, but that's where I'm coming from. I'm from a paying agency. I don't think. I think it's important to remember how big of a power the CAP has. But this is also a possibility. We need to figure out what is the needs for the upcoming CAP. And we need to also do this due to combine the data better for better monitoring of the ecosystems in the future. You also see here a Tier 3 model for greenhouse gas emissions. That's also an example of a use case. A better decision-making tools for both for the private, but also especially for the public policies for a safe and just operating system. So this is tapping into the IX system. Development of real-time and dynamic data exchange. Basically sharing data with farmers. I don't know how it's in your member states, but it's not dynamic in Denmark. Let's just put it like that. It could go faster. So that's an issue we need to tackle, and we will tackle. Create this capacity building in the data technology and the data literacy in agriculture is also, again, very important, and we will focus on this due to the fact of the uptake. And again, data market, the places, the cooperatives, how do we make all these things sustainable? This is just some examples covering a few of the 100 research innovation activities of the partnership. Sorry, I thought I pushed the button. I'll try to wrap it up here. Why is the partnership important, and what do we aim at? Well, basically, we want to deliver on the parallel digital and green transitions, and we want to provide that in the same way as providing, simultaneously on providing food security for Europe. Sustainable agriculture in all aspects are the future. We cannot do a green transition without also thinking about the sustainability for the farming sector, for the economical side of the farms out there. The rural sustainability, the social sustainability out there. And remember Sweden, our neighboring country in Denmark. We have been in war with them many times, but this morning, Cecilia from Sweden, you spoke of that 81% of the Swedish consumer, and this year, or yeah, some years ago, 2 years ago, thank you, expects to have real knowledge, real insights on which effect does the product they are consuming actually have. We need to deliver on this. And how we do this is that we get better data, the better data exploitation, higher quality, and especially the combining of data sources to create tools and models to push forward. This is possible, and one of the ways it's possible is through Agriculture of Data, upcoming candidate partnership. I'm not friends with that, sorry. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Yes, but come and take a seat. Interoperability problems between finger and button, maybe, yeah. Really interesting, actually, you bringing the consumer in and the demands of the consumer. You were nodding away at that as well, and I'm sure you're having the same in Estonia. The demands of the consumer and the way that they will play into the way that this industry changes. It's a big deal.
Sorry, please.
Well, no, it is a big deal, the way the consumer will be demanding.
I'm from a paying agency, so I'm from a governmental agency. So our normal way of thinking could be not thinking about the consumer, but at the end we need to think about who are who are our real target group as groups, and we need to provide sustainable food production for Europe. Yeah, that's why we're here, and that's the consumers. In the end.
Absolutely, and you've got to think of that end audience, as it were. Yes, but thank you very much. I'm going to bring on another project now to complement the participants we have already, and I'd like to bring on Grigoris Jadzikostas, from Reframe Food, which is a data sharing initiative, bringing people together actually to use that data. So Grigoris, please, over to you. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I hope there are still people interested in our discussion. I'm here to describe to you a project called Agri-Data Space, and like every other European project, is a collective hard work of many people. Some of them are already in the room today, some others were missing. But I'm Grigoris Jadzikostas, I work at Reframe Food, and I will not bother you a lot about myself. I will go directly to the topic of my initiative today, which is the project. So, what we tried to do in the Agri-Data Space project is that what we tried to do is to lay the foundations, to pave the ground for what we call a common European agricultural data space. And laying the foundation means that we wanted to prepare some results that are related on how this data space will look like in the future. This includes, of course, the governance model. It includes the business model, some legal aspects and contractual aspects, and of course the next steps in the form of a planning. One disclaimer here, our project aimed to provide suggestions, aimed to provide contributions and propose a way of a roadmap of how this common European agricultural data space will work. Of course, all plans are tested in reality, or plans are tested against the wish of the stakeholders that the project involves. Therefore, some of the things might change in the future. So, what we want to do with this common European data spaces as a whole is to stimulate innovation and build a thriving data economy. And agriculture, or agri-food, if you want to look at the value chain perspective, was chosen among the 14 sectors that European Commission supported the development of such data spaces, aiming to facilitate secure and efficient data sharing. A few key words one needs to keep here is federation, decentralization, and the concept of the network. A common data space doesn't mean a top-down system that somehow sets all the rules and all the requirements. On the contrary, it means a way of collaborating, and it means a way of coexisting among various data sharing initiatives. And that's the main principle we laid our work upon. And our work has been the initial phase of various other activities that need to take place. So we kind of explored the ground, but also we created the critical mass of factors, of stakeholders that will take this common data space further. In the future, we're looking, first of all, of the deployment, but we're also looking of the operationalization. The operationalization is the activity that will test our assumptions, that will test our results, and will give valuable feedback in order to improve the data space, improve its rules, improve the role of the stakeholders, and make it to deliver what needs to be delivered in the, with the final aim for the scaling, to reach the 10 out of 10. Now, the topic of our discussion today is breaking silos. But in order to break the silos, one must first to locate them and discover what they're made from. So in that sense, we tried to look a little bit at the business and revenue models of existing data sharing initiatives. So what we found is that a big majority of them is publicly funded, almost 40% is publicly funded. We found data sharing initiatives that have subscription fee model. We did not find, surprisingly, any data sharing initiatives that are based on advertisement. And we only found 3 that are commission-based ones. And with respect to the business models we looked at, data marketplace is quite a dominant business model. Software as a service has been a dominant business model. And technical enabler has also been a dominant business model. Then other business models related to data monetization and industrial data platforms are capturing a little bit smaller part of the full picture, while the open data policy is still at its infancy. It exists as a very good concept, but unfortunately, it is not operationalized in the field. And then we propose the conceptualization of the common European agricultural data space in 4 pillars. We try to capture the majority of the challenges and the majority of the issues into these 4 pillars. First of all, the legal and ethics framework. Here, the key words are consent and permission. And we have tools for that. We have the regulatory tools for that. We have the Data Act and the Data Governance Act that offering us the key principles towards this direction. Then, we were very careful to understand and to highlight that this common European agricultural data space is not aiming to dominate, but to connect. So it wants to go to fit into the existing business models rather than trying to change the reality on the field. And then speaking about business models, because this word might be perceived in the wrong way, by building this initiative, we believe that we should not be aiming to build another unicorn. You should not be able to build some major revenue-generating initiative. We want to be very careful to highlight that, in our opinion, the best way to move forward is to establish business models as a way to allocate value among the different stakeholders in such a way that we ensure the sustainability of the initiative, the sustainability of the effort, but by providing the effort as much affordably as possible to the end users, namely the farmers. And last but not least, one of the biggest hurdles, one of the biggest challenges that we face when we are engaging stakeholders, and particularly farmers, is what we call the vendor lock-in. Very often the farmers are very skeptical when we want to propose something that will be tied into a specific platform, into a specific technology. And I think in Europe we all agree that a common European agricultural data space should be what we call technology agnostic. It should allow many different initiatives to coexist, to collaborate, hence the term of interoperability becomes relevant. In this complex diagram you can see here, I would like to highlight a few things related to the governance model. So, first of all, it's very important to establish decision-making bodies that will take the responsibility to move decisions forward, but also, since we are operating in an environment that is changing a lot and that it requires interdisciplinary approach, we would also propose an advisory board that is able to provide market insights, support, review, and also change conventional opinions. Then, it's very important to highlight the services, what services would be provided, and organize the governance model according to them. These services include certain inclusive data governance, access to open data, and 2 aspects of interoperability, the identity interoperability and the data catalog interoperability. One might wonder, okay, this looks like a nice organizational scheme, but where is the Commission and where are the EU member states? don't get us wrong. The fact that the Commission is sitting in the bottom right corner, it doesn't mean that the role of the Commission is not important. It is very important to have the mandate to provide the standards, to provide the rules of the game, but also the role of the EU member states is very important because the national governments need to support data sharing initiatives. They are already doing, the majority of them are coming from the public sector, but they also need to incorporate actions related to these initiatives into the governance model of the entire ecosystem. All in all, when we're looking at the actors, we're looking to optimize the allocation of resources, but also to maximize the innovation capabilities. And this can happen through collaboration. If we look at the, let's say, the actors, the main actors in this setup, the first one is the data sharing initiatives. These are the ones that will be actually being the cornerstone of the entire common European agricultural data space. And we have seen some of them, and we will see others later on. Of course, the European Commission remains a very strong actor in terms of creating the rules, supporting, but also providing the standards and the frameworks. And then the technology providers, the people who will be providing the infrastructure, are also a very strong actor. And last, but certainly not least, there are many other actors around the value chain. And at the end of the value chain, we see farmers that might not be interacting directly with the common European agricultural data space. However, their participation in the data sharing initiatives will become more valuable to them and more valuable to the society as a whole. I hope all this did not confuse you, because in our presentation, what we realize is that broad consensus is the key. And some of us that have participated in legacy now projects, like IOF 2020, for example, remember that we were working at the time that we started providing use cases. It was the time that the EU Code of Conduct for Agricultural Data Sharing started to emerge. And we saw a lot of issues and challenges that were resolved already by then. But I think that now we have a stronger and more mature mechanism related to the Data Act that will ensure that broad consensus will be secured. Our study found out that this is one of the critical success factors for the future. And my last slide is a plan. And like every other plan, it has to be tested with reality, as I said before. But what we will see is that the deployment includes also preparatory phases, includes a very important implementation phase that technology and the reports related to the implementation will be produced. But possibly the most important phase of the project will be the one that will start in about 2 years from now with the operational roadmap. This will actually deploy services and will allow services to be tested, will test the assumptions that we had, and hopefully it will allow to move towards the scaling phase. I think that was more or less it, and thank you very much.
Grigoris, thank you very much. Thank you. Lovely, thank you. So, sorry, just to clarify, 2 years, in 2 years' time, you start to implement?
Yes, technically speaking, that's a plan we propose.
Right.
As I said before, the purpose of this project of Agri-Data Space was to propose a plan.
Yeah.
Now reality has to come in, but I think it's a solid plan, and I think that many of the elements that we identified will be followed.
You had lots of nodding, I have to say, from the participants here. So we'll get into talking about the way your plan is hoping to progress coming up. What I thought we'd do, though, now is, instead of just looking Europe-wide, is actually look at a regional data space that's already in operation. Please welcome to stage the Director of the Flanders Research Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, the Ambassador of the Flemish Agriculture Data Space, DJust Connect, Jurgen Vagnetti. Jurgen, thank you very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me. Indeed, it's always important to say that I'm a director and not the director at the Flanders Research Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries and Food. But that's just a detail. I'm just here today to be the ambassador of what we indeed call Just Connect, a regional data space, but that we also position as one of the first, we're not the only one, but real implementations of what could become the very nice project that Grigoris described, the agricultural data space. And let's start with something I think that we can all agree on, and the most important player in the discussion today, the farmer. And I think we all want happy farmers, no? So to help the farmers, we provided him with digital technology. One solution on the one side, but on the other side, we also overwhelmed him a bit with regulations, administration, paperwork. But not a problem, we provided him with more apps to solve this, and even more apps to solve all this. And more, the farmer was not only overwhelmed by administrative burdens, but also overwhelmed by many, many different applications. So actually, this is the why of why Just Connect is existing. We are trying to bring, and I was very happy to hear one of the previous speakers before the break saying, we need something that brings this all together. Well, these things are already existing, and they're being deployed. And one of these solutions, and there are others in other countries also, is Just Connect. And I didn't translate our baseline, but our baseline is farmers and data, making very clear that the farmer is at the steer and in the middle of the system. What do we really offer, except just a nice talk from my side? We offer a data market that works through our Connect shop and where we make data available for the whole sector. We do this using an open platform, and the word open is very important. We offer secure, transparent, and controlled transport of data, but we are there for everybody. Everybody can join our ecosystem, not just the founding fathers of the companies or that we like more or less than others. We're open for everybody. And we provide a very nice dashboard where we give 100% control to the farmer and fully in respect of the farmer, I know between quotes, data ownership. The farmer can decide at any moment when he wants to share data, with whom he wants to share data, and why. But also, at any moment, he can decide to stop sharing data. If he pushes the digital red button, I have only a green button here, but the farmer can also push the button to stop sharing data if he's not convinced anymore about the added value of sharing data. And also, and that's one of our unique selling points, and we are quite proud of that, we have one contract, or like they would say in some movies, one to rule them all. One contract for all players, farmers or businesses. There's just one clear contract for everybody. For who are we working? Of course, first of all, for the farmer. We will provide the farmer better advice, better support, and thanks to our consent dashboard and our overview, we provide him full control, and that is how we deliver less administrative burden for the farmer. But of course, we're also there for the data providers, that we give legal coverage, that we give IT support, and through our Connect shop that offers API management, we give them the possibility to expand the market with their data that they are providing through our platform. And finally, of course, the same works for the data user, where we allow him to actually accelerate his data because we provide him with improved data products, improved services, and we also foresee IT support for that. How does it really work? I will try to explain it simply, as good as I can. Let's say that a very innovative company nowadays, of course, using an AI-driven application. I mean, if you're not using AI nowadays, you're an exception. And they have a fantastic idea to support the farmer with, for instance, better management advice on how to feed his cows in a more sustainable way. Well, if you want to do this and if you want to develop this app and if you want to feed your AI, you need data. This data is not necessarily available at all these farming computers, but it can be available in the IT systems of the robotic company, of the dairy company. So what our platform does, as we cooperate or have this company as a partner, or as a client actually, we send the question from the new startup that wants to develop an application to this company. If this company accepts the question, then we can take the next very important step. There goes out a question to, for instance, let's say this company has 500 farmers as customer, to 500 farmers, and all these 500 farmers can say one by one, yes, I agree that my data flows to this new developer or this new software packages. That's how it works. Once there is the okay from the farmers, the consent, the data can flow. If it's not on the drawing, but if the farmer tomorrow says no, the data flow stops. For those who want to take a look at it, we have now around 60 different data sources available, 56 to be honest, but 60 sounds just a little bit next level. So 60 data sources are available. You can have a look at that. You just need to click the data charts and you can start the access. I think by now it is very clear that I came with one clear message. The more data you share, the less administrative burden for the farmers. And it was said data has value, but I don't fully agree. Data has only value when it's shared. And when you treat data, like maybe has been said in the beginning, like gold, and you think, I have gold, I will save it, I will keep it safe, and never share it, it's not going to work. This is not a strategy that will build us further, bring us further. So we need a way to share the data, to make the valuable available for more, of course, making sure that everybody gets a fair share of this data. And we can give some clear examples of that because the use cases also Professor Engel was asking about, they're already there. For instance, the farms and the farming businesses in Flanders provide information about parcel information. We have farm identification mapping. We have soil analysis available, soil mappings that come to the companies that do this job for the farmer. And through APIs, we feed them, for instance, into a nice application that is available for Flemish farmers. It's called the Soil Passport. It supports them in doing better and more sustainable soil management. So for these reasons, they have to collect all this data. But the same data later can be reused, can flow again to another application, for instance, to applications for auditing on milk quality or other auditing systems that are sometimes asking the same data over and over again. Or it can flow into some of the climate scans that are now being deployed in Flanders, where Flanders, like also the Estonia colleague said, that need to report on sustainability, makes them do the scan much quicker and save time. Or it can flow into the farm management system, and one like What Should Grow that we have in Flanders for potato production. So the farmer does not need to fill in all his parcel information by hand or step by step. No, it can. If he pushes the button or if he shares the information, it flows automatically into the farm management information system. This is saving time for farmers. This means Sunday afternoon time, maybe, for the family, instead of doing paperwork and being worried about the auditor that will come on Monday. What did we already realize? We started with a very motivated team. We still have them actually. In 2020 with just one demonstration app, a handful of farmers and an operational platform. Now 4 years later, we have 56 connections and 3,000 farmers connected, and we dare to name ourselves a regional data space and even actually the Flemish agricultural data space. How did we do this? One very important thing, use case first. We always start from use cases. Oh, this thing goes too fast? Okay. This is very important. It is not so much about the technology. We spend most of our time talking to partners, talking to new clients, bringing them a use case, scaling it towards a business case, for instance, talking with feed companies, with slaughter companies, explaining them how they all can get a win out of data sharing. And if this group, the farmers, the companies, are convinced about data sharing and about the value that's in it, only then we start talking about fancy things like a data space or whatever. It doesn't make, at that moment, it's not important. And once they are convinced about sharing data, the biggest step is taken. And then it's very easy to convince them that the best way, the cheapest way, the most secure way is using a data space. Very important for us in the question, how did you do it, is this custom. So I talked about the use case first, but also customer driven. We work with companies, with farmers and with government, and we place them always in the middle, and we try to tailor our work to the sector. So it means that our IT, our legal, our business support, we're always willing to adapt it, to adapt our systems, to adapt our approach to the needs of our customers. And we have a nearly 24/24 help desk where we receive a lot of calls for farmers. Even if we have a very hands-on, easy-to-use system, you need to be there to support the people that want to connect. And we also spend a lot of time in explaining the benefits of data sharing, because I saw trust, that's very important, but maybe I didn't fully agree. Trust is important, but also explaining the value, taking the time to explain to farmers why data sharing, or to explain to businesses why there is value in data sharing. And an easy one to convince people is showing that it's less administration, but also that they can professionalize their business, that they can give better advice, that they can work more sustainable, and that the businesses around precision farming can accelerate their innovations. Did we have any hurdles? Yes, we had a lot of hurdles, and we had to find a lot of solutions. Just Connect is founded by cooperatives. Cooperatives that are also in the steering board of Just Connect, but finally we found also that we need a neutral party in the middle. And this is the role of ILVO. You need a referee in the middle of the business ecosystem to make things work and to bring things forward. And also, it connects with the fact that ILVO takes ownership of the platform and that we have no responsibilities towards service providers or any companies from outside. We decide the pace that we innovate. We decide when maybe it's financially a little bit more difficult. We decide to go slower. We decide when to go faster, but that's under control and we can adapt to the financial situations. A very challenging one is also the domain knowledge. We convince customers because we have a very broad domain knowledge, but we are a platform for the whole sector. So it means that you need to understand poultry production as well as potato production and even down the food chain, processing companies. We also need to be able to talk to them. And I think you all know you're not going to convince somebody in agri-food business if you don't know the domain. So that's a very challenging one to cover all these domains. And then finally, public-private, a very important one. I think we all need to think about this. Putting up a platform like this, we're already there for 4 years. It's not a secret, we're not sustainable yet. So getting a platform like this sustainable takes time and a lot of investments. Small players, small companies, even middle companies cannot take this for 10 years. And then you need to take a decision whether you go public-private partnership or you scale to very, very big companies that are able to keep a platform in the air many, many years. But if I look at the federated system that Grigoris is proposing, this is not the idea that one big company or one big platform rules Europe. We want a connection of smaller players. And therefore, I think, especially in the beginning, we need public-private partnerships. Trust. But not trust, as it was a bit misunderstood, that farmers would not trust their machinery manufacturers, because I know quite some farmers, I think if there is one player they trust a lot, it are the machine manufacturers that they trust, the ones who build their tractors, who build their machines. It's about us as a platform gaining trust from the farmers, gaining trust from the government, and gaining trust from the businesses. And we did that by offering a lot of support and involving them in our systems, and especially the trust that we got from the government and the Flemish Department of Agriculture, for instance, by providing us, my last word, data sources. They gave us the possibility, and I heard it also from Estonia, the speech from Estonia, that a lot of very interesting killer data sets were the start of our applications. If you have, for instance, the parcel information available, then farm management information systems can start working with this. So this trust from these actors to open up their data sources is very important, because it might sound like something stupid, but if you want to be a successful platform, you need data sources. And I also see platforms that don't have data sources actually available, so that's not the way it's going to work. And then the final thing is we have had a lot of opportunities and possibilities because we're deeply embedded in the European and Flemish innovation ecosystem. Thanks to, from small national projects to very big European funded projects, we are able to innovate and always have the newest technology in our platform. And actually, we already achieved scaling from not just being an island in Flanders, but stepping up to the European system. For instance, in the Potato X project where we used Gaia X technology, we connected our platform with a Finnish and a French platform. So we were able that a Finnish platform who buys, for instance, from a Belgian machine manufacturer can give consent on his Finnish platform being connected with our platform and doing all the data sharing as it would be done by a Flemish farmer. I think I want to conclude with that one, and I want to thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jürgen. Thank you. Thank you. Come and take a seat. Come and take a seat and grab a microphone. And just very, very briefly, because I know we're actually going to hear from one of your farmers in a moment, but very briefly, the money, the financial side, your business model on this, do the farmers pay for this, or do you pay the farmers, or is there no financial contract between the the data sharing space and the farmers?
Yes, our business model is not a secret, because we also worked in the CSA, for instance. Farmers, I have a manager of the platform who once said farmers will never pay. And up till now, we were able to keep it that way. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if we can keep it like this, but for now, it's free for the farmer. The farmer does not pay. Although, honestly, it could help, of course, your business model, but the thing is, for farmers, it's for free. And it are the data providers and the data users who pay yearly subscriptions to the platform. And that is how we make the business model work. But make no mistake, even with the situation we are now in, we are well on our way, but it doesn't mean that we are earning money. By the way, we are a non-for-profit platform anyway, but there still needs to be support yearly. And that was the point that I tried to make. If you want to keep this in the long run, you need public support. It was also the point that Stefan made for the agricultural data space in the beginning. To kick it off, you need to have public support. It's also something, for instance, sometimes we also refer to data utility companies, where we clearly see that the government, just like electricity or the water, these things also kicked off with a lot of governmental support and totally supported by the government in the beginning. So maybe we're in the same system with data. It should be a utility company in the beginning, I think.
It is very interesting because we often refer to data as being so very valuable, but it's interesting then to see how that potential value does or does not play into a business case. So thank you. So what we're going to do now is actually hear from a farmer. I'm going to bring Wanda up, Wanda Verdonk, who uses your platform and is going to talk us through what it's like, whether it works for you, how you found it, why you got involved, and I'm not going to ask you whether you'd be happy to pay for it, since we've just had that conversation. Come back, over to you.
Okay, hi. Okay, good afternoon. I'm Wanda Verdonk. It's my pleasure as the last speaker of the day to walk you through my experience as a user of the smart data solutions that you all have put together for us farmers. Together with my husband, I have a farm in Belgium. We milk there 270 cows and we cultivate crops for our herd on 180 hectares of land. But at this moment, our farm is really changing. My parents-in-law, they will retiring next March, and we will continue our family business together with another young family. We are not related, but they had to sell their own farm to make place for a wetland nature reserve. So that means in 2025, we milk 400 cows and we will cultivating crops across 270 hectares. So you have maybe now how our farms look like. I also have a picture, you see it like there. But it's a little bit too far for me to put it, but if you see the number 1, that is our farm. We are in a really agricultural environment, but you also see the water, who is crawling, is that the right term in English? It's a valley, it's a water valley, and so we are really near a very diverse landscape, and we really want to prove that a modern family business can be together with this kind of environment. For my own work at the farm, I'm actually a daughter of a tomato grocer, but I fell in love with my husband, who was already a farmer. So 11 years ago, I went into the family business, and what I'm doing today, this morning, I've milked my cows. I also do the fertility. The staff organization, we have a lot of young people who comes in the morning or in the evening to help me to milk the cows. And I also do the finance and the administration, so that's why I'm here, because I use Just Connect and some other data solutions. When I think about my digital business management, I see 3 key activities. And the first one is to professionalization. I really want to use my data to improve. They help me to monitoring our daily activities. I can compare our performance with colleagues, but I also can forecast what the financial impact is of a specific improvement that I will put in place. The second key activity is to mapping out the sustainability of my farm, because my milk corporation, Arla, asked me to do that, and it helps me to provide the documents that they need. And the third one is maybe not the one I like, but it's necessary, is the compliance. So I also use it to report and to justifying our operations to different organizations. Then the way I collect, share, and analyze. If you see on the slide, you see a lot of logos, and this is just a quick overview of the data systems that I've been using the last 2 weeks. I think if I push the button, you also will see a video of my, I'm a little bit embarrassed, of my hard copy data and information library. And what you see is maybe a third of my full collection. All right, really happy to move on the next slide. But I will try to be some more concrete. On this slide, you see an amazing forum, Just Connect, just like Jurgen presented to you. This platform gives me, as a farmer, my autonomy to choose who gets access to which data of our business. For example, I can easily prepare an inspection from EKM, or Arvesta can run a quick calculation of our feed balance before they visiting us. But not everyone is on board. Commercial companies like Unifarm or Lely are having most of the times their own system, and they ask us as a farmer to use it a daily fee. And we don't know for sure if we are still owner of the data that they collect from us. So I'm happy that they have really good programs that I can use as a farmer. It really helps me to become bigger, but I have to pay, and it's not, I think we can do something better. Maybe another story, you already heard Just Connect, but for the accountant, we use Boerenbond. It's like the agriculture organization of Flanders, and they also provide this service for us. And they use, at their platform, they work together with several companies, with several organizations, and because they do that, it takes me some 8 hours to just less to just inform or to fill in the right data that they needed. You see a couple of organizations they work with, like Arvesta is also a company, commercial, but I don't have to pay Arvesta to provide my data to Boerenbond. With Uniform Agri, I have to pay a special, how do you say it, every month extra, so they share my data with some others. The balance, if you ask me the key to success, I think the balance between data sharing and a personal return in terms of insights and possibility for optimization is essential. Farmers who see a favorable balance will be much more inclined to embrace digitalization. Then if you ask me which factors determine whether I end up using a certain system, I always will give 2 answers. First of all, I'm very grateful that I can use It's Me. It's a way of entering to systems, and I don't need an ID reader. I don't need 101 passwords that I always forget, and then I have to do it back. And I just show my face to the phone, and I'm into the system that I want. Another key success is after a smooth and safe login is simplicity. Simplicity will always be essential for me. User-friendliness, clarity, easiness, those are the qualities I'm looking for in the system that I use for my data collection and operational management. But what else? if I'm allowed to dream a little bit bigger, I would wish that, for instance, the digital tools we use for compliance are linked to the actualized legislation. In this way, by offering transparent and easy-to-use tools for farmers, we can prevent unintentional errors, and massive amounts of stress and pressure can be avoided. Because I'm often gnawing my fingernails when I use my fertilizing register, or when I have to do something for FLIF. I'm not sure the word in English, but it's like a subsidy when you do innovation at your farm. But there are a lot of extra. They ask a lot of things, and you can make easy a mistake, and then you don't get the money. So I always looking for how it is, and then I fill my application. So it's always a lot of stress because I have to Google it, and a lot of stress. Additionally, I like to underscore how crucial it is that farmers have transparency about what happens with their shared data. I am convinced that we can build bridges today by agreeing together on the challenges we face, by acknowledging our privacy concerns, by acknowledging our increased dependency on technology, and by going out of our way to assure the protection and quality of our business data. Keeping farms' data in farmers' hands should not be an empty promise. Together, we can achieve this because you are Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vanda. Thank you. Thank you. Right, I'm turning it straight over to you because there are so many great examples here. So I'm just going to move straight over to audience questions. If you're watching us online, please use Slido. If you're here in the room, it's the last session of the day. Let's just get some hands up, and we'll take some questions from the floor. Would anyone like to kick us off with the first question to any of our participants as to how it works, or what does work, what doesn't work, what's been tricky? No? Okay, maybe in a moment, do you know what? There's a lot of questions on Slido about the money side of things. Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you, Vanda, first, and then anyone else that wants to come in on this. Why would you, this is the most popular question, why would you, a stakeholder, share your data with others, assuming that you're not being paid for it? Because normally, I'm paraphrasing here, normally we have a problem, you know, that we feel we're giving something away for nothing when actually it's quite valuable. Why don't you feel like that? Maybe you do a bit. Tell us.
I think when I want to share my data is when I'm sure that it goes to an organization or a company that I can trust. We heard it a lot today. But also when I see the return. And the return doesn't have to be individually. It helps. But when we know that it's at the right organization, or because they will use it in advantage for our farmers, because we love our job, we love our colleagues, then I would share my data immediately, no problem.
Okay. Do you mind if I push you a bit on this? Because let's say that in the future you have some very large companies that become involved in this, and the data becomes very valuable to them when they start, forgive me, I don't know, but maybe yields or diseases or things that they can begin to predict what they will need elsewhere for their buying patterns, whatever it is. And you can see that they are making money out of your data. Their business is doing better. Would that then change your mind?
I think most farmers just want to make money with their farm. So if a company can make money of it, it's okay. I think it's mostly like that.
So you don't see the data as being another potential revenue stream for you?
No, I see that there can be a big revenue, but we like it more to improve our farms.
Okay.
Then we think that we can have money with data instead of milk.
Okay, Jürgen.
I'm very disappointed about this question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why? It's the top question.
This is clear that they although I tried to do my best, didn't understand my presentation. The data is only valuable if you share it. If you start thinking, it's my data and I will not share it, what happens then? That's the question. Then you don't innovate, you don't get better services, you don't get support, and you need to do all the paperwork manually. So the thing is, we need to, also the question is not only disappointed, it's also wrong. Because you are not sharing for no value. Maybe she's not directly paid for it, but there is much more in the world that is defined by value than money. If you save 4 hours on work, if you share your data,
that's got a cost to it, absolutely.
what is the cost about this? Secondly, she's not. If you share today, the data is not lost. You can say tomorrow, look, now it's I don't save any time anymore, or I think this company is indeed treating my data in a wrong way. And you push the button and you stop sharing the data. So, with these kind of questions, we're not going to make progress. Sorry.
Fair enough, fair enough. There'll be many, obviously, that really agree. There'll be some that wonder also on the size of farms and the type of farms, whether actually that cost would pay into it.
Yes, but there are a lot of people who talk about data and the value of data who have never tried, never ever, to make any value out of data. So try it and then ask the question again.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. What about the situation in Estonia? What do you see there?
There's always this question whether it should be shared for money or not. I'm really glad about this answer that there's so much more than just money in the world, and you can do so much better things. And the main idea, data without sharing, without using, has no value.
Yeah, yeah. You're nodding, Leontine.
Yes, I am, and I'm actually glad to hear this debate between you. I mean, obviously, I'm not a farmer, so it's a bit difficult for me to understand your point of view, but I fully agree with what you said, and I think that, and again, I remember what you wrote on Slido in the beginning of the afternoon, where in the middle there was opportunity next to interoperability, next to trust. So there's opportunity for everybody. There's opportunity to improve the life of farmers and improve the supply chain. There's opportunities for those that want to create a data market and make money out of it. That's absolutely no problem. And there's obviously opportunity for government agencies. Remember my story from the beginning. So the US government had to only pay $70,000 US to solve their problem. So it's a small price to pay and a great opportunity to exploit.
Anyone else in the audience want to come in on that, about the value question? Value as in a monetary value. Anybody else want to come in on that? No? Okay, anyone on the panel? No. Yeah, please do.
I think that I normally like to answer questions with one word. So going back to your question, I would say benchmarking. How valuable it is for farmers to know how they're doing in comparison to others. How much does this cost? Even more than the time they spend filling in data. So I think that the biggest value comes from the fact that they can compare themselves with the others, improve their practices, and earn more from their actual farming, the milking of the cows or the growing of potatoes or whatever else they're doing.
It's really interesting because you will hear from consumers, maybe different in different countries, but consumers feel that there is a value to their own data, and actually consumers would want to get something back if they were giving their data away. We feel very, very differently as consumers. It's fabulous what you're saying. Let's see how that continues when maybe you get a bigger model and you don't have such a close relationship with the company that you know and that you trust. Be interesting then to see whether you would still feel the same or not. Let's take more questions from the audience, from Slido as well, from the online audience. Do other paying agencies in the EU have a data service like in Estonia?
Actually, I don't know.
Anyone?
The Flemish one uses partly Just Connect to expose some, and they also have a very extended data website, so they're working on it. I don't want to benchmark. I don't think you are really super innovative, but there are followers who are trying to do the same and get inspired.
We also have got questions on security of data and coordination globally. Both of those are two big questions, but the security of data, that's something we talk a lot about. Do you want to say anything on that, Leontina? I mean, that would be covered, I'm guessing, by existing legislation. Is that something that has to be changed for this? And also that's something that the platforms have to be aware about as well?
Well, from a policy perspective, I think we have plenty of legislations that define what one can and cannot do with the Data Act, Data Governance Act, and we have quite an extensive package when it comes to cybersecurity as well. But I think it is more important because it's more important how this legislation is implemented, because legislation on its own does not guarantee that data is secure. So I'm very happy to hear, that you're looking at security in the common European agriculture data space. You've mentioned security as well, and all the other speakers that are developing solutions, they're mentioning security as well. So you are implementing what we've actually put in the EU acquis. There's also plenty of certification to make sure that these solutions do comply with the European legislation in the area of security. Now, security will always remain a concern, and I think it's a lot to do with technical solutions as well, but it has to do a lot with emotions, and it has to do a lot with trust. So I think the more guarantees we give to everybody, the more willingness and incentive there will be to share this data. Wanda, you were saying that you need to trust the organization to which you give your data. The question back to you would be, what can that organization do to gain your trust?
Very, very quick one, and then actually can we launch the Slido question as well at the same time? So if you've got your phones out, a question is about to pop up on your screen. But just a very quick one, can small farms benefit as much as the big ones on data sharing? Possibly more so, maybe, yeah?
I think even more.
More so.
Yes, because the smaller the farm, the less they have the time or the abilities to work with data. The bigger farms have more opportunities to do that.
Fabulous.
So I think it's better for small farms.
And you're nodding as well. Brilliant, thank you. I'm just going to end with a final question on Slido. If we could launch that now on that QR code, that would be fabulous. So if you could all just, and I think you might be really interested in the answer to this, given the first question. So if you go on to, oh, no, that's the questions. There we go, thank you. If you go onto that QR code now, and we've got a quick question for you at the end. I'm hoping that we have. Yes, fabulous, thank you. Oh, right. That's not the question I was expecting, but this will be an interesting answer. If farmers designed the next big tech trend, what would it be? Excellent, okay. Well, people are typing already. So if farmers designed it, it would be AI, benchmarking. What would that next big trend be? What would yours be, Vanda, if you were going to design a next big tech trend?
Then I would like to have something that can cook for me and can do all my administration, so I can sleep more and play more with my kids.
What about a little robot that could come and sort out your filing system?
Yeah, that's. I would love that. I have these days we have did an investment last month at our farm to work with EI. Do I say it correct in English? And it's a system. We have something with our cows who see to the temperature and how much they eat and how much they drink. And they give me so much information about how my cows feel. So I don't have to walk and see all my cows. I like to do that, but it helps me to go to a specific cow that is in need or who's not doing as good as yesterday. yesterday, and it cost me a lot of money because it's a commercial company and it asks for every cow an amount, so I have to pay now €1,000 a month to use it. But it helps me to use less antibiotica. Is it also English word? Yeah. And because my cows are more healthy, they also getting older and gives more milk when they are happy. So it's okay. The €1,000, I'm happy.
It's worth it.
It's perfect. But actually, I don't believe that it has to be that expensive. I think if we use AI and we work more together, it can be cheaper, and more farms will use this, because I can do it because we have 270 cows, but when I have 60 cows, it's just not economic to use that system.
Which then brings us back into the question of the small farm versus the big farm. Quick look at the word cloud behind you, precision farming, but look, AI there right in the middle. Interesting to see natural disaster modelling. I think there's probably a lot of people that would quite like to see that, and decision support as well. It's been really interesting, I hope you agree, hearing all your experiences of what's happening now, but also what could be happening in the future as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank our panellists here on stage.